I was raised in a Catholic family, so that tradition was transferred very, very strongly and is at my core. But I also recognize that it is a double-edged sword. If you are raised in the bosom of that church, it is a wonderful, incredible experience. But if you are raised outside of the bosom, that wonderful thing, it can feel very, very oppressive. So you have families who find their spiritual traditions are best expressed in other denominations. So please don't walk away thinking, well, I need to talk to the Catholic priest solely. We have representatives here that are working in other spiritual traditions that have a wealth of support from their community, and it's important to engage them on where they can be engaged. We cannot expect them to be like us, like health educators that are going to do everything, although there are some that are. We have to use them as brokers, because they are often a very critical voice of information for Latino families. So one social worker may say, you need to do X, Y, and Z. And the parent doesn't know how to integrate X, Y, and Z. And they then turn to their faith leader or their pastor or their priest and say, ¿Cómo le voy a hacer? And that person can be the person that creates the map for them. There is a little sheet of paper. This one. This one. What I'd like you to do, you can either write it with words, you can draw a picture, you can draw symbols, however you want. And in the top one where it says family tradition or value A, in that box, I would like you to identify a value that you learned or a tradition that you learned from your family that you say was spot on. Because I got this value, it helped me succeed in life. That because my family or my culture has taught me this thing, I am better for it. I'd like to take a moment for you to scribble it, symbolize it, however you want. In the second box, where it says familiar tradition value B, I'd like you to identify one tradition or value that you say, this one served no positive purpose for me. Man, I don't even know why they transmitted this one. But you were exposed to it nonetheless. And in the last box, what I'd like you to consider putting in there is saying that in the course of our lives, we interact with people that are dissimilar like us, from us. And we begin to observe things that we say, wow, that's actually kind of cool. In that box, I would like you to place, if you can, a value or tradition that you observed in someone that is unlike you. And you say, wow, if I would have had that one, it would have served me very, very well. For me, in box one, it's unwavering. My father and my mother demonstrated within me the work ethic that was never taught anywhere. It was my father's commitment to the family and how he did it on a daily basis that was transmitted not through words, but through his commitment on a daily way to do. The second one, and that's a close second, was a sincere understanding of what respect for others meant. It was not conditional, it was sincere, and those two things I think have served me very, very well, both in my personal life and my professional endeavors. If anybody feels comfortable sharing those things that they put in their box one, just one or two people, very briefly. Yes?
There was a very big core value to pursue education is key.
In your family, the core value was to pursue education. It's a great core value to have in the family. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Every person deserves the opportunity for personal betterment and success.
Every person deserves the opportunity for personal betterment and success because you are so willing.
Support and give back to your community. I grew up in a very small town, and you shop there, you live there, you create a positive image for your community when you
So hers was a commitment to community that we are attempting to recreate now. Buy locally, live locally, doing something that was lost, and now we're trying to recreate, and that's, the danger. That, we lose things without knowing its real value, and that's a wonderful familial core value to transmit. It's very, very important. When you are connected to your community, you can't help but think about all that is possible and good. The second box people struggle with a little bit more, because it requires us to visit the shadow sides of our experience. And in our family, in our culture, there are members of the family who had a value that alcohol consumption was the way that you could engender pride in who you were. When I look at that value, and I look at Diego and Sofia, my children, I can see right now that serves no positive purpose for my children succeeding in school, for succeeding in life. And that's a value that we have retired in our family. It may have served a purpose, and I don't know when it might have. I struggle to identify that. But I know that looking forward, it will serve no purpose for my children. The other value that I want to retire is the collective one that you experience through other families, that there were things for boys and there were things for girls. I can't make that choice for my son and my daughter. My goals and desires for my son are identical to the goals and desires that I have for my daughter. To be happy, to engender a sense of positive purpose, for them to pursue the talents and their gifts, to succeed and have harmony and balance in their lives. How could I want that for one and not the other? That's one that I choose, and we actively choose to dispel constantly. And does anybody want to share their shadow value? Yes.
We never talked about anything about personal feelings. And you just, if something bad happens, you just hope that eventually it'll go away. It's kind of a stoicism. Never telling anybody anything you don't want everything to know.
Sure. An administrator in Seattle, Washington, shared his two values. One of them was that around their dinner table, they could engage in discussions, any academic or intellectual discussion that was present or current at that moment. And his shadow value is even though they could talk about every political, social issue around the table, they could not share about their core feelings and what was going on in their lives. And that's a reality that we transfer that to our children. It can put them at a disadvantage. Thank you for sharing that, Christy. Anybody else have a yes?
To be right all the time, not make mistakes.
Yeah. So from a parental perspective or general perspective, because in my family, my parents never made a mistake, Yeah, okay, both. Okay, so, all right. And the last one, a value that you've observed in a group dissimilar from you or an individual. Yes? Machismo. It does. It does. Hopefully in the second presentation, when I bore you that time, I'll actually give you a way to counterbalance that. A value that you observed in somebody else that you said, wow, that would have served me well.
For my husband's family, they were always more respectful. Like, we have respect for each other, like mother and daughter, but when they walked into a room, there was the handshakes, the nods, the dias, like the whole picture. Everybody got respect.
Yeah.
That's when, and then walking down the street, you always say, boy, some random person you know, you're just like,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
this stuff.
Yeah.
That's like, I wish I had that. It was hard to get used to.
Yeah. We don't, in couples that come from different cultures, we don't tell the person that is not Latino that there's actually a rule about when you leave a social gathering that you need to start 45 minutes before the departure time. Because people will we need to leave now. And like, okay, well, let's go. And then the departure starts, and 45 minutes later you're leaving. And if you don't know that, you can be really frustrated by this process. It's very important. But also the acknowledgement, the concept. Yeah.
It's a nice thing.